We touched on this earlier, although never really fully got to it for whatever reason. But the Aztecs TV schedule with kick times is out. Jim's been talking about that opener in his update against Texas A&M Commerce. My dad used to always say he lives in Palm Beach County. There's a big difference between Palm Beach and Palm Beach County. So they open against an FCS opponent. We knew that. It's a really, you said this off air, and I agree with you. It's a really intriguing schedule. It's the first time in forever that San Diego State would, quote unquote, play 3 power programs. They could argue power with what's going on with Oregon State and Washington State, but they host Oregon State and Washington State at Snapdragon Stadium. Both of those games will be at 7:30 at night. The other marquee games for me, Jim, at Cal is on ESPN, also at 7:30 at night. And then the Boise game was moved from a Saturday to a Friday. It's a 5 p.m. Pacific start, November 1st. Boise is supposed to be really good. Kind of a marquee opportunity. This game's on, I think it is, FS1, 5 o'clock Pacific. You can hear it, of course, on San Diego Sports 760. So those are some of the games that, for me, stick out for the Aztecs heading into next year.
You could argue in recent memory, this on paper is the best looking Aztec schedule, or schedule they've had in a while.
Best/hardest.
Hardest too. But I mean, hey, what's been one of the complaints about Aztec football is like the scheduling but it's not, their fault because of where they're at. They've scheduled Pac-12 schools in the past, and now you get 3 former Pac-12 schools this year in Oregon State, Cal, and Washington State, the kind of 3 that are left over, even though Cal is part of the ACC now, or are they not?
That's correct.
Okay.
No, you're right.
So you have 1 ACC school, and then you have 2 just like schools that are just out there
in the ether.
They're just out there.
Now, to your point on non-conference, I think the athletic department, J.D. Wicker, the football program, has really done a phenomenal job traditionally with non-conference, right? Like the Arizona States, home and homes, the UCLA, home and homes. Like, listen to this. This year, like you said, Cal, Washington State, Oregon State.
Central Michigan is on. I mean, it's not like a walkthrough there.
Not at all. Next year, your 2 quote-unquote power games, Cal at home at Washington State. In the future, at UCLA and Oregon State at home in 2026. This is when it gets interesting. Listen to this in 2027. Yeah. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Missouri at home out of the SEC at Oklahoma.
Yeah, the Oklahoma series, yeah.
And then in 2028, Arizona State at home and at Missouri. And then eventually in 2029, if this holds true, the University of Oklahoma, the Sooners, will be at Snapdragon Stadium.
Are you getting your call sheet ready for that game?
Not yet. Oh, you see my boards?
Is that what it's called?
It's like boards. I call it boards. Imagine my 2029 Oklahoma boards.
Yeah.
How cool is that idea, though? The University of Oklahoma, one of the proudest, most decorated college football programs ever.
Yep.
With national championship after national championship, moving from the Big 12 to the SEC. San Diego State has a 3-game future series with the Sooners. So I give the Aztecs a ton of credit for the way they've scheduled the non-conference. Conference you can't control. They don't control what conference they're in.
No.
We've had that conversation for a year plus.
You play who's in front of you, and I think the schedule is fairly good. I think if you're an Aztecs fan, you look at the schedule and you say, I like those games. I like those matchups. It's going to be fun to watch them take on, Cal and Oregon State and Washington State and then Boise. And so I think it's good. I like it. It's going to be a tough test for this team. You look at it on paper, it's pretty much just a completely new roster, right? I mean, it's a completely new roster.
A lot of it.
A completely new coaching staff. Coming off a 4-win season last year, you're looking at this year, I would say anything like above 6 wins or higher would be considered, I think, somewhat successful.
I think it would be very successful. I think you get to bowl eligibility with those 3 quote unquote power games, 3 of your 12.
You get to 6-6. I first year head coach, first, quarterbacks and new players everywhere and new schemes and everything. I would consider that. I know that we'll be talking about that more down the line here as the season gets closer and closer, but looking at the schedule, I think anything higher than 6 wins or at 6 wins would be considered a success.
Hear me out for a second. Brent brought this to my attention. I saw this previously. SC, Florida State, Texas, Wisconsin, the University of Washington, Florida Gators, Tennessee Volunteers, San Diego State Aztecs. What do they have in common? They will all receive the same distribution for the video game by EA Sports. EA Sports put all of the Division I programs in tiers. Tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. San Diego State deemed based on their success over the last 10 years in Tier 2, along with Florida State, USC, Texas, Wisconsin, Florida, Washington, and others. There's then a Tier 3, which has a ton of Power 5 schools, South Carolina, Syracuse,
Colorado,
Washington State, Colorado. And then there's a Tier 4, which is actually a majority of the schools in FBS. There's only about 10 schools in Tier 1. Tier 2 includes San Diego State.
Hey, look, when I finally buy a PS5 and I get
You're going to have to now.
EA Sports College Football 24, look, I don't care what tier the Aztecs are in. They'll be playing for national championships every year.
Within about an hour, right?
Yeah, I will be the most aggressive recruiter on the freaking planet. My NIL.
How much money you need?
I'm going to be, hey, that 5-star recruit quarterback. Like,
I got 6.6 mil.
Give me some little hush money. I don't care. Like, we're going to get that guy into San Diego State. I'm going to do everything I possibly can. I'm going to resort all of my efforts to recruiting the top talent in the country to come to San Diego State. We're going to turn this thing into a power program.
Rich McGuire,
even though it's been very, very successful for the last decade.
Rich McGuire on YouTube. Jim, didn't you get a PS5 for your wedding?
Like, no, I didn't.
Not on the registry?
Not on the registry. I could get one, though, with the money that we got. But
I'm sure Aaron would love that.
I don't know if Aaron would like that.
Hey,
all of a sudden,
pay off for a videographer or buy a PS5.
Yeah, $450 are missing, and then all of a sudden the PS5 comes in the mail.